All right, General Krueger, thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Kevin Jabal with Med School Insiders. And today we're going to ask you a few questions to help educate some pre-med and medical students about some career options in medicine with the U.S. military. General Krueger, can you please provide a broad strokes overview of your current role in the U.S. Army?
Absolutely. So currently, I'm the Commanding General of Medical Readiness Command East, which means I command all Army medicine forces east of the Mississippi that are assigned to the Army Medical Command. I also have the opportunity to be the Chief of the Army Medical Corps, so I'm responsible for all of the physicians in the U.S. Army as far as their development.
Now, transitioning to your journey to medicine, when were you first exposed to the medical profession?
Well, the medical profession itself would have been during college. I had a couple jobs. Like many people, I had a few jobs during the summer. So I was a lifeguard. I also was an EKG tech, which meant I worked in the hospital. And so by meeting somebody at the lifeguard who was a doctor's family, they said, hey, if you're interested in medicine after you finished your day job with EKGs, you can come shadow me in the operating room. I did that and I was hooked. I previously was interested in veterinary medicine, but when I talked to my patients a lot, I decided probably sticking with human medicine was a better choice.
When did you know that you wanted to be a doctor?
Well, I think when I was in that experience shadowing in the hospital, and I sat down with one of my patients and was actually able to walk through them with what was a pretty scary experience for them personally and provide them some reassurance and feel that sense of accomplishment of being able to help my fellow human being, that really drove it home for me.
Now, you mentioned some other career options like veterinary medicine. What other career options did you explore and what ultimately drew you to medicine?
I'd say after the experience in the hospital, I really narrowed it down. Then it really came to what sort of doctor I wanted to be. And being someone who is very curious, I went to different rotations, and so I went with surgery, and I loved that. I spent some time with a cardiologist and found that fascinating. I went to the labor and delivery deck and loved spending time with moms and babies. I think you can see the pattern. I didn't want to give anything up, so family medicine was where I settled, and it's been a great match.
Now, what made you decide to go into more of a leadership role?
That's a great question. I never aspired to a leadership role. My goal in Army medicine was to complete medical school, to pay back my commitment, and to go somewhere to be a country doctor. However, as I was even in my residency program, I was chosen to be the chief resident, and I enjoyed the problem solving and the ability to bring people together around a common purpose. And from there, it was really just trusting those who were senior to me, who identified me for positions and said, you know what, I think you'd be really good at this. And they provided me the mentorship and the space in order to lead.
Now, as a general in the U.S. Army, how has your role as a physician changed?
Well, I must admit, I don't earn my income by seeing a lot of patients. My role has changed by having a spot in policy and by being able to provide an environment where those who are in Army medicine under my command can practice in a way that is rewarding, where they can take care of their patients. And when we detect barriers that might come up, I can use my leadership role to address those barriers so they can provide the best care to their patients.
Can you give an idea to the viewers of what a typical day in your life would look like?
I am in the Army, so I have the opportunity to get up early and exercise to make sure I'm fit to take on the day. And frankly, the older I've gotten, the more rewarding that has been, because I am able to keep up with all 5 of my children. So then after exercising, I'll kiss whichever children are left in the house and my husband on the way out the door. And I'll usually start the day meeting with either my staff or my subordinate commanders. Basically, that would be equivalent to your chief medical officers of the hospitals. I have 18 different ones of those that report to me. I learn about what's happening in their areas, and then I provide guidance if needed. Additionally, then I'll move on to ceremonies to congratulate people, to thank them for what they're doing, and then meet with some of my peers in order to discuss what's happening across Army medicine and what actions we need to take to ensure that the doctors, nurses, medics, vets on the front lines are equipped to do what they need to keep our soldiers ready for whatever the nation calls.
Now, you're very accomplished as a physician and as a general, and you have a family. We have a lot of students who are aspiring physicians, and they feel that they may face some obstacles and challenges in having a family while also leading very busy and demanding professional roles. Do you have any advice or insights to provide them?
I do. Having 5 children, I've had the chance to navigate this several times. I would say don't settle for a dichotomy, meaning I have to do this well or do that well. It is about trade-offs. I am a mom, I am a doctor, I am a wife, I'm an Army officer, a daughter, a sister, and there are days where I need to choose to put one of those roles in front of the others. If I do it intentionally, I can feel good about it because it's a choice I've made and I can make that trade-off. I don't try to be everything to everyone. There's days where I'm a really good mom and I'm there for my son's events, but that might be a day that I've had to ask another teammate to pick up the slack. So if you make those trade-offs intentionally, if you are part of a team that you can believe in and that you have a common committed goal, then you're going to be able to make those decisions and make those trade-offs. And ultimately, it's incredibly satisfying when you're able to do that.
What are the most challenging parts of your current role?
I'd say the most challenging part is being a leader at this level. There's things that you enjoy doing that you just don't have the bandwidth for anymore. I love seeing patients. I find great personal satisfaction. I still do that once in a while, but not as much as I'd like. So it's really making that sacrifice of trading off those things that you enjoy doing personally. But the benefit is I can be part of making decisions that benefit the larger good, so that more people can care for their patients. The other piece I would say is making those trade-offs in time between family and work. You've got to be very intentional. Planning ahead to put things on the calendar if I want to do something important. So in a few weeks, I'm taking a day off, a day of vacation from work, just so I can accompany my 6-year-old on his school field trip. But I had to plan that in advance because otherwise things will get busy. So I'd say that's that part. It's there's less spontaneity because the schedule will fill in around it, but I find it worth the trade-off.
What would you say are some of your favorite parts of your role, either now as a general or even when you were more clinically oriented as a family medicine physician?
Well, as a family medicine physician, I treasure the opportunity to care for families, to watch the young soldier families and work through milestones with them, through the birth of their first child, through watching those children grow up. And one of my favorite times was a baby I had delivered, grew up to be 4 years old, and as I was coming in to deliver her younger sibling, I had followed the mom through the pregnancy, and the 4-year-old told me, "Oh no, Dr. Krueger, you can't go back there. That's only for mommies and babies." So I had to work through that with her, but that was a real joy to be part of those families' life experiences, especially those young families. As far as my current role, I love watching a new leader, a young leader, gain confidence in their abilities as they come into a role and they might not have experienced it before, so it can be a little scary. But being there beside them, just like mentors were willing to be beside me, and watching them develop the talent and the confidence, and ultimately then doing the same, going out and mentoring those who they lead, that's incredibly satisfying.
Knowing what you know now, would you do anything differently? I
likely would have done more military-specific activities earlier in my career, when my knees and my shoulders and my elbows were ready to do that. So having confidence that I could go out and do neat things that we do in the Army, like airborne school or different Army-specific experiences, because it's really amazing being with soldiers in the field and being able to medically support them as they're far forward taking care of our country. So I probably would have done a little bit of that earlier, but at the same time, I loved my time in the hospital, so it comes back to the trade-offs.
What type of students do you think would be a good fit for Army medicine?
That is another great question. I think any student who is willing to ask how they can contribute and how they can serve, any student who is looking for a career field that is very fulfilling, where you can serve with like-minded individuals who are committed to a purpose, who want to be able to provide medical care, not based on somebody's ability to pay, but based on their need. I believe any of those students would find it incredibly rewarding. You don't have to be super fit. You don't have to have a military background. When I first entered the Army, I didn't meet any of their physical standards. I could not do one push-up. I had never been part of a sports team, but the military helped develop those things in me, where I was able to keep up with the soldiers, able to do what the military required for me, and then also able to bring my medical talents to support the mission.
What surprised you most about your career in Army medicine?
Well, when I came into Army medicine, I came into it because I did not have enough money to pay for med school. I had an acceptance to med school in one hand and nothing else. I don't even remember how I had gas to get down to where I was going. So I joined purely for the education piece. What really surprised me is when, after I completed my residency, after I completed a fellowship, a master's degree, all the Army paid for, I got called up to go to Afghanistan. And this was after our Army hadn't been at war for a long time. And so I initially was scared. And what really surprised me is when I got downrange, I got to Afghanistan, I had the chance to serve with Army medics, actually Air Force, Navy, and care for soldiers. And I was surprised at how incredibly rewarding that was. The thing that I had never imagined I would actually do, because our nation hadn't been there for a long time, was what was really transformative for me and what cemented my love for Army medicine and my commitment to serving in this role.
Any final advice to give those interested in pursuing the medical field?
Absolutely. I would say follow your dreams. Don't limit yourself. Don't let your fears get in the way. Instead of asking what would happen if I fail, ask what would happen if I succeed. The possibilities, the opportunities to serve, whether in the military or in the civilian sector, are really great. I think our nation currently is very hungry for a healthcare system that would be able to support the wellness of our population and to have our population be healthy. So I think the future is bright. There's a lot of hard work to be done, and certainly a great need for physicians who truly care for their fellow man and woman.
All right, General Krueger, thank you so much for joining us today. If students want to learn more, where can they go?
Yeah, if students want to learn more about Army medicine, they can go to goarmy.com/AMED.